Alright, today we're going to be looking at how to cut the taper mortise for our taper joinery to go in. So I actually finished this joinery the other day, so this leg will fit in perfectly. It's got nice and tight. Okay. So yeah, we're going to work on this today. So as you can see here, this hole right here is tapered to, so I widened it to 30 millimeter and then smoothen out the middle section inside. So this here becomes 30 at the bottom and the top remains 19 to 20. So I think it's 20 millimeter at the top. So to get this done, we need a couple of stuff. First thing is the 15 millimeter flat chisel and a smaller chisel. Cow chisel also helps to take out the material in the middle. And the last thing we need is a file. So if you don't have a file, you can also use a sandpaper. It's just to smoothen out the surface inside. And of course, you're going to need some of these measuring tools as well. So if you measure the holes at the bottom or even the top, they should be around 19, and we are going for 30. So what we're going to do is mark out 5.5 on each side, and 5.5 here, and 5.5 here. And the other one should be 19. Yep. Okay, same thing. 5.5 and 5.5. So that we would end up with 30 millimeter at the bottom here. So we also need to remember the angle of the leg. Probably going to mark it here. We mark 5.5. Another 5.5 here. Okay. Another one should be like this. Okay, so I'm just gonna eyeball a straight line so that I can establish a square. Because we need to draw out another circle. Okay, just like that. The leg is sort of angled like that, so we need to follow the angle. Okay, in this case I might have to redraw the line. Recheck the line, make sure it's still 30. So after that, draw a line from corner to corner. Right there. Corner to corner, so that would give us another mark. So basically we're trying to get the almost like a center line. And same thing, mark out 30, 19, 5.5 here. 5.5 at the back here. Another one. $19. 5.5 and 5.5. So you're going to use these marking and draw out a circle. Okay, so try to get as nice of a circle as you can. It's pretty important. And you cannot use compass for this, since there's no middle line. Okay, so now we know how much material to take out. And we're going to start carving out all of these away. Okay, so it's going to be the same as before. So this is basically tapering a mortise. Tapering a mortise instead of a tenon. So right now what we have, I'm just going to do a very quick drawing here. What we have is this. What we're trying to get to is this. So first thing we're going to do is just chisel away the top and slowly chisel down the side wall using gouge chisel, small flat chisel, and finally a rasp. So once again, we're not going to be touching the top part at all. So it's mostly, a lot of the materials will be coming off from the bottom here. Yeah? All right. Okay, to dig out the material, I'm going to use a 15mm flat chisel, and I'm going to be using the bevel side of the chisel. So with the bevel down, dig out the material like that. So we're just trying to go to the line right now. Hold up. So you bevel the chisel like that, and then you just dig. Just go right up to the line. Okay, I'm going to focus right now. All right, let's take a look. So this is what I have so far. Just a very extreme taper just around the edge. It looks pretty shabby right now, but once we're done, it's gonna look like a straight taper like this. Okay, so as you can see, it's a very clean taper. So next up, we are gonna continue tapering this down a little bit at a time. So you can either switch to a smaller chisel or gouge chisel at this stage. Let's continue tapering. This angle is slightly easier. This angle, slightly easier compared to the inner angle. So you can focus a bit more on this first. Careful with your fingers. Just continue digging with the bevel. Work on this a little bit more. So each joint could take up about like an hour of carving, because it's not the easiest kind of carving that you're doing. Another good way to do that is to use a small chisel line it up, just chop it down. For this I need a little bit more space, so I'm gonna zoom out. Just use your hand as like a mallet. Slowly break down the wall. Just chop away layer by layer, so it's easier. At this stage, I'm just going to switch to the cow chisel. Okay, the reason I want to use cow chisel is because the chisel itself has a curved bevel, the curved shape, so it kind of helps with carving out the round cylindrical tenon. Just chiseling the wall a little bit at a time. Let me just show you what I have so far. Zoom in. Sure. As you can see, the inside is getting wider at the bottom. That doesn't mean like the top is any good because I haven't touched it at all. So I'm mostly focused on about 1/3 of the bottom joinery. Get it nice and tapered, nice and straight, and then I move on to the middle. Okay. Okay, so I've actually been chiseling for about a few minutes, and it's getting a little bit straighter towards the back. And what I'm going to do is just continue chiseling the middle section, just using the cow chisel. Just cutting down those walls a little bit at a time. Right now the taper is more concentrated at the back, so I just need to keep flattening the walls down so that the taper moves forward. Alright, so now I'm a little bit happy with what I have over here at the bottom. So I have a bit of a, so let's say this is a clock. So this is what I have right now. I'm just going to draw it out. Yeah? I have a wall like this, and now I have, this is the initial slope. So now I have something like this. So what I need to do now is remove the middle, flatten out the middle, so I have a taper from the top of the joint to the back of the joint. So what I'm doing is chiseling the same way from the top, but this time around I'm only chiseling the middle. Don't touch the top, yeah? You're trying to bridge a little straight line between the bottom and the top. Okay, so now I've done a fair bit of carving. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check. So if you want to look at this carving that I did, check it out. It is pretty straight at the back once again. So I'm just going to use a chisel. You can use any straight object to check whether it is straight from the back to the front. So right now it is not straight. Okay, so So there's a bit of rocking in the middle. So what that means is there's some material in the middle, and I'm going to continue removing that. Okay. So once we're done with chiseling, we're going to use a file to flatten it. So this will get rid of the bumps in the middle, the uneven spots, so when the joint is put in, it will not have trouble going down at all. So use the half round side of the rasp, not the flat side, your half round side. So right now I'm just focusing on this spot. I'm just going to get it flattened, and then once it's flat, I'm just going to continue the same thing all around. So right about now, after rasping and carving, you're going to bring up this little chisel, check the wall, make sure they're flat. If they're not flat, just use the edge of the chisel, angle the chisel, and slowly take those walls down. So using this edge, and you're just pushing forward. So they'll create grooves on the wall, and then you go back in with the rasp to flatten it down. Okay, let's see. Oh my God. So that is what the inside of the joinery will look like after you cut grooves. It's a bit hard to see. So as you can see, there are multiple grooves in there. So what it does is it will flatten down the high spots with the flat chisel, and then you can go ahead and file those down to get to the final size. Okay, let's go back in. So I'm going to show you how to fix the mistake of cutting the tenon a bit too short. So right now the tenon is 50 millimeter. I'm going to extend it to 60. Just mark out to 60. Just draw the line all the way around. So we're going to start with this. And continue following the same cut all the way around. The two lines should connect like that. Make sure you cut to about this depth. All the way around. Okay, hold it. Once it's done, you're going to chisel it down. Use the biggest chisel you have. take out a little bit at a time. Yeah? So you want to make sure that the chisel follows the original flat tenon that you already have. Just follow that angle. Alright, and you're done. Use a chisel. Follow the original line. Just push flat, straight. And clean up the corner. Okay, so now we have our tapered mortise and a tapered tenon. What you need to do is mark out the numbers. So I usually label my joinery 1, 2, 3. So make sure you have the corresponding number. So this one would be 2. Right. First thing you want to do is just stuff the joinery in. And of course it won't go in right away because the joinery is slightly bigger than the hole itself. And yeah. Let me just zoom in. So if you look at this tenon, you'll see a certain spot. There will be the burnishes, the shiny spots. Those are the spots that are in contact with the mortise right now. So I'm going to shave those away. Use a chisel. So another way of shaving the tenon would be to use a chisel and just drag. So this will not take out too much material. But if you need to take out a lot of material, just use a chisel and shave it away. So when you start out, you want to start by shaving the front, because that's usually where it gets stuck the most. Okay, so right now I'm shaving the front of the joinery first. Just making sure I go all the way around. Right now it's at 19. I'm just going to bring it down to about 18 or 17 and a half, something smaller, so that it will go in slightly easier. Okay, once it's done, I'm just going to try fitting it in. Okay. Just make sure you give it a nice twist. So we will leave the burnishes, which are in the middle. So you start by removing the front, and then the middle, and then the back. Just clean up the corners. Just gonna check the burnishes, and check out the burnishes one more time. Okay, I'll come back when it's all done. Okay, right now I'm very close to fitting the joint. So I'm just using the chisel as a scraper. Let's see how it fits. Okay, it's very close. We need to make sure we bring the shoulder down to the seat. So just a little bit more. So I'm going to use this little file that I have just to bring the back down a little bit. Ooh, very close. Okay, just keep rasping, and we should be able to get this joint in. Okay, I think this is done. Just gonna fit it in. Okay, there you go. It's a pretty nice fit joinery right there. There's a bit of a gap, but when we put the wedge in, it will fill up the gap on its own. Okay. As you can see, the wedge leg is pretty sturdy. You have to turn pretty hard to take it out. All right, that's basically how you fit the joinery.